Hey, what's up? What's up, what's up, what's up? Hey everyone, how are you? Happy Tuesday. I'm hotter than the surface of the sun. I know it's a thing I've been known to say, but I really am. I'm so freaking hot. I had a super intense workout. So Susie and I, who I think is just jumping on, Susie and I did a one-to-one, and I was like, oh, I'm not feeling too good. Like, I'm feeling like wiped out and just, anyway. We had our call, and literally, like, you know, when you're doing your soul work and when you're doing what you were born to do, it gives you so much energy. And so, like, literally probably within like 2 or 3 minutes of beginning our private one-to-one, I felt absolutely fine. And then had a super intense workout, and my workout finished like an hour ago, but I'm still sweating. Anyway, let me know how you are. I'd love to know how you are. What are you up to today? What have you been up to? What are you up to? How are you feeling? Any additional breakthroughs from yesterday? Hi Lily, hi Andrea, hi Bex. I think I already said hello, but if not, hello. We're going to jump into some juicy goodness today. Ah, Sophie's here too. Hello. Welcome, Sophie. Who else is here? Let me know. Hi, Susie's here too. Hello. Welcome to day 2. I am so excited to have you here. I am so excited to make a difference to you. I am so tickled by I don't know why I'm really tickled by Susie struggling to say everyone. I love you, Susie. Zoe's here too. Hello. Welcome. Amazing to have you here as well. All right. So, any breakthroughs? First of all, like I said, let me know how you are. Let me know what you've been up to so far today. And also, let me know any further breakthroughs that you had from yesterday. Andrea says, hello sis, I feel you. I start really hot after workout, so excited for day 2. Amazing, yes. I swear it's literally like, I mean, because when you work out, especially, I was doing super intense cardio, so I was doing interval running. And when you do that, like, you're literally turning your whole body into a furnace, right? Like a fire burning, fat burning, blitzing, obliterating furnace in the best possible way. And I find it always, like, it pervades afterwards, which obviously it also scientifically does, because you continue to burn more calories even after your workout because of the furnace effect. I don't know if it's actually called the furnace effect, but I've just called it that. Sophie says, going slowly, haha, I'm trying to write an article on hypno and coaching. Ooh. Tell us more. What's the topic of the article? Everyone else, let me know how your day's going, what you've been up to. I would love to know. Susie says, had a one-to-one with Jaimie Sarah this morning. She did indeed. It was very enjoyable. Breakthrough yesterday was getting how I feel comfortable exploring sales. This is progress. Yeah, totally. Such a game changer. Really is. So exciting. I honestly think that transforming your relationship with sales is the single biggest, highest impact thing that makes the biggest difference to your ability to impact more people and make more income. And certainly in my business and in the business of many of my private clients, it has made the biggest difference to me and the biggest difference to them. Having that shift into no longer seeing sales as this sort of separate, awkward, like, oh, do I really have to do this? Like, can't sales just happen automatically? Can't I just hire someone to help me with sales? I remember having a conversation with one of my coaches and mentors when I was pregnant. I think I was quite newly pregnant, so it would have been about 2.5 years ago. I remember saying, I just want someone else to take care of the sales process for me. Like, I really want to hire a sales ninja. And it was not super long after that, it was only a few months after that, that I actually fell in love with sales. And and now it's like, yeah, sure, like I could hire a sales ninja to help me with the sales process in different ways. But do I feel like I need that to succeed? Do I feel like that's a thing that I'm missing? No. And so that's part of my commitment to you this week, is to help you get to that place where, yeah, like if it's aligned to expand your team into it having a dedicated salesperson or someone who helps you with sales, amazing. By all means do that. But we want to make sure that if you're making that choice, you're making that choice from a place of genuinely choosing it, rather than having that feel like the only option because of fear and resistance and all that other kind of icky stuff that comes when we haven't actually developed that affinity with sales. That's absolutely and completely possible. Andrea says, I'm getting back to writing my book and going to start reaching out on LinkedIn, just connecting and sharing what I'm doing and asking for a conversation. Amazing. Fantastic. Well done. Little tip on LinkedIn. I would just add people as connections. I would recommend not putting anything in the message initially, just add them as connections. Start engaging with their content. You know, if you see something that they post that you think is relevant, send them a message, be like, hey, I really like this post, or like, how are things, and take it from there. I would definitely not ask for a conversation off the bat, because people, especially on LinkedIn, are very, very, very bombarded by messages like that. And actually, for a lot of people, they'll write you off if you do that, and may possibly remove you as a connection because they are so... so bombarded by messages like that. So that's my suggestion on LinkedIn. I hope that helps. And hopefully that's helpful for others of you as well. Sophie said, oh, I've said that many times, where can I get a sales ninja? Haha. Yeah, exactly. It's not unusual for a business owner whose skill set, whose core skill set is not necessarily sales, or is not necessarily selling their own business, right? You might be helping others to sell in their businesses, but you may not have mastered it in your own business yet, right? Like, I'd been helping other businesses nail their sales and marketing for over a decade when I started my business. I still had blocks that came up around selling and marketing my own business that I then overcome, like I shared yesterday. So, hang on, let me just make sure. Right, we're good. I've just put do not disturb on. Okay, that makes more sense. Andrea says, gotcha, meant with people I know. Totally hear you because I'm being bombarded. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. If it's people that you already know, then seeing if they want to catch up or whatever is a beautiful thing to do, and can be a really authentic sales strategy. So Zoe said, definitely I had loads yesterday. Is that loads of breakthroughs or loads of LinkedIn bombardments? All right, we're getting some more people requesting to join. Let me just accept a couple people and then we'll jump into the other things. The things. Yeah, I thought that's what you meant. Did you catch the replay from yesterday, Zoe? Yeah, look, there's nothing wrong with connecting with new people on LinkedIn. It's just about how you do it. And I experimented a few months ago with actually hiring someone to do some stuff on LinkedIn for me. And it was good, but I still it was good in the scheme of things, but it didn't feel totally in alignment for me because it was like a lot of copy and pasting stuff. And I think even if it doesn't appear like a copy and paste thing, if there is an element of copy and paste, I think people can feel it energetically, especially intuitive people. So I got rid of them after 1 month, but I was glad that I tried it, and I did definitely learn some new things. Not yet been in meetings this AM. No messages on LinkedIn is the best for organic engagement. Exactly. Totally. 100% the best. And people are more likely, if you've got no message, if you haven't included a message, they'll just go on your page and read your bio, and then they'll get hooked, and then they're like, give me some crack. Hopefully you're not selling crack though. I know none of you are selling crack. I'm just being silly. All right. So what we're going to jump into is ego and codependency in sales. Who's excited to jump into this topic? Let me know in the comments if you're excited. Let me know. What are you doing, cat? What are you doing, little cat? My cat's just having a moment. Oh, can you see? Hang on. She's having a moment. She's doing like a I don't know what you'd call it. She's watching guard. She's watching guard, pretending to be a dog. She thinks she's a dog, basically. Okay. Now, as I'm talking, if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know your questions in the chat, and I'll come to them either during or I'll come to them at the end. She's so cute. Yeah, she's pretty cute. She's called Sugar for a reason. So here's what I want you to get about ego and codependency in sales. No human being on earth is perfect because we're human beings, right? We're not God. So we are inherently flawed and we are inherently imperfect. So I want you to just bear that in mind in the context of this conversation, that the goal in sales is not to become a perfect human being who is like a perfect square, a perfect square that is the same shape, the same colour, the same texture every single day and every single conversation, and that feels like a robot to engage with. Okay, that's not the goal. In sales, people really appreciate when they're having a conversation with you, again, whether it's via messenger, whether it's via phone, when they're having that conversation with you and they know that you are having a conversation with them. You are not reeling off the same script that you reel off with everyone. You are having a conversation with them and them alone. Incredibly, incredibly important to effective sales. Now, the other thing that I want to share with you that was going through really loudly when I was working out earlier was I want to remind you that a sales conversation isn't necessarily just when someone's booked a consultation or an initial call or a discovery call or whatever you call it with you, okay? A sales conversation can be, if you think about what we covered yesterday and you think about the fact that we covered that sales is actually a relationship building game, that it's a connection game. A sales conversation could be you in the gym lounge, talking to somebody you've never met before, building connection, building a relationship with no intention to sell them a single bean or whatever you're selling. But the connection and the intimacy and the rapport is there to such an extent, and that person feels understood by you to such an extent that they will then say, they'll either say, what do you do? Or they'll say, they'll give you a look, right? They'll give you a look and they'll be like, this was a really great conversation. What do you do? Or they'll say, maybe if it's come up earlier in the conversation what your title is, they'll say, how might I work with you? Or can I work with you? Or what kind of, what options do you have for how I could work with you? Yeah, they will say that organically. So just bear in mind that literally any interaction, virtually any interaction in your daily life, in your daily business, could turn into a sales conversation even when you least expect it. You could be on the phone with a vendor who, in your mind, they're there to provide you with a service, but you show up in such a way that they turn around and they say, actually, can I hire you? Yeah? And you can totally have that, right? You can have someone who you hire, who then also decides to hire you, and it doesn't mean that they're gonna, like, both of those things can exist in tandem. Sugar, this is not really very convenient. Sugar. It's not really super convenient. Could you get down, please? No. Ideally not over the back of my chair, though. Go on, get down, please. Get down. Thank you very much. She's feeling the vibes. Who can blame her? Who can blame her? That's why we're all here after all. It's for the vibes. No, but seriously though, you will, during the course of the work that we're doing together this week, you will receive energetic upgrades. You will notice energetic shifts in yourself as a function of being in the presence of my energy. And it's just a thing that happens, and it's probably a thing that happens with your clients and customers as well, and it is very, very real. Okay, so it's not just about the information that you're receiving at a conscious level, at a rational level. It's also about the energetic upgrades that you're in the presence of and that you're receiving. So definitely, if you haven't already, set that intention that you don't just receive information, but you also receive energetic upgrades during this time together. So a sales conversation can literally emerge from anywhere. So just a reminder of that, okay? Now, as to ego and codependency in sales, like I said, no human being is perfect. Nevertheless, it is absolutely possible to notice your ego trying to join the party of a conversation with a potential customer, with a potential client, with a potential partner, a potential referral, referrer or potential affiliate, or any other kind of business relationship. It's possible to notice ego starting to rear its head, and it's possible to notice codependency start to rear its head and to put it on a leash, to rein it in. Okay? And the more that you practice this, the easier it gets. So when I was very first started coaching, which was 5 years ago now, I would, if somebody said, if I had an initial conversation with someone, I really would really hope that they would say yes. And if I sensed that they weren't going to say yes, right, because I had the kind of power dynamic all mixed up, and it was I didn't see it as, well, actually, this is a mutual discovery, right? This initial conversation is a process of them discovering me discovering them, and us working out if it's a fit together. I didn't see it that way. And some boobies there for you. Sugar. My heart, be still, my heart. Okay, I didn't see it that way. I saw it as, I have some services to sell, which I greatly enjoy delivering. And if the person says yes, it's a privilege to me. I am lucky to be able to serve them. I still feel that way, by the way. I still feel it's a privilege. I still feel that I'm lucky to be able to serve people, whether it's through this week together, whether it's through one of my masterminds, whether it's one-to-one, whether it's through another group program. I still feel that it's a privilege for me to be able to serve them. But what I didn't really get at the time was that it was just as much of a privilege for them to be supported by me, okay? Just as much, right? Like, it's a privilege for me, privilege for them. Do-do-do. Mutual privilege, mutual dance, yay, everybody wins, okay? And so I would see the objective of an initial conversation as hopefully getting them to say yes to a program with me. And I kind of see my job as me proving myself to them, and me proving my worth to them, and me proving why I was good enough to them. Oh, do you see some of this, like, almost like unresolved inner child wounding stuff? Do you feel that? So I had, like, I'd done a lot of personal development work, but there was still unresolved childhood stuff around not being enough, around needing to prove myself to others, around needing to compensate and overcompensate and all this kind of stuff. And at the time that stuff wasn't resolved. So of course it makes perfect sense that I'd be going into a sales conversation thinking, oh my gosh, I really, really hope this person says yes. I really hope this person says yes. And so that was two things. That was one, disempowering for me. It was actually diminishing me, and maybe you've done this, or maybe you've been doing this, and if you have, that's okay, and it's never too late to stop doing it. And so, sorry, I just need to, where's the thingy? Oh, it's right there. It's right there in front of me. So I'd be thinking that that was the main objective, versus understanding that the main objective was actually, how can I build connection? How can I understand clearly where this person is at? How can I understand clearly what they need? And how can I understand whether my services are going to be a fit for where they're at and their needs? And if it is a fit, to share those services with them, right? Asking for permission first, right? You should always ask for permission before you share. So you'd say, you know, based on what we've discussed, I have a program that I think would be a fit for you. Are you interested? At that point, they say yes or no. Yeah, that's incredibly important, because if they say no, then you then don't have to go through the awkward process of you share something and then they say no, and then you're like, oh, did I not share it right? When, you know, perhaps they already knew that they weren't going to want to do something with you, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of human beings on earth, and there are different human beings that are going to resonate with different people. So it may be that you have the exact expertise that they want, but they're just on a very different energetic bandwidth. Maybe your levels of consciousness are just way too far apart. That's an important element of compatibility. You don't have to be at the exact same level of consciousness, but there needs to be some kind of synergy. Point being, it is not a bad thing if you get to the end of an initial conversation and someone doesn't say yes. It's actually a really beautiful thing if you have a conversation with someone. Again, we covered this yesterday. Have a conversation with someone and you think, you know what? I understand this person, I understand what their goals are, and I also know in my gut that I'm not the best person to help them. When you actually say that to them and you say, do you know what? I would love to help you. I actually don't think, based on what you shared, that I'm the best person to help you. I think that you'd be better off speaking to Sarah. Would you like me to connect you two on Messenger, or would you like me to connect you two on WhatsApp? That has so much integrity and makes you so much more magnetic than if you try and share something with someone that you already know isn't the right fit for where they're at currently. Okay, if you do that kind of thing, they are way more likely, and again, this is not why you're doing it. You're doing it because that's the thing that has integrity to do. But when you do that, they are way more likely to come back afterwards, because they will so respect and appreciate that you didn't just try and sell them the thing in order to get more cash in that moment in time. They will really respect and appreciate that actually you acknowledged, hey, this isn't the best fit for where you're at right now. It wouldn't be the best use of your funds to pay me right now. So I recommend you go here, you pay this person. And if you want to talk later, let me know. Yeah, that has so much integrity, and integrity makes you way more magnetic. And so what can come up is if you're like super attached to the person saying yes, I want to hear more about, whatever option you think would be the best fit for me. Yes, I want to hear more about your services. Yes, I want to buy this program. Yes, I want to sign up for these services. Whatever it is, if you're really, really attached to that, then your ego is taking the driving seat in the conversation. And when your ego's taking the driving seat in the conversation, your true self can't be in the driving seat at the same time. Your true self will be in the back seat. And so if the potential customer, the potential client is in the passenger seat, they're still going to be able to talk to your authentic self, but it's not going to be as easy as if they're sitting side by side. Because if they're sitting in the passenger seat and the ego's there being noisy and kind of dominating, that ego is going to be drowning out the noise of your authentic self in the back seat and going to be distracting this person. So what we want is we want to have the authentic self in the front seat, and we want to have the ego, and same for codependence, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a second. We want to have the ego in the back seat or in the boot, or if you've really, really mastered this, not in the car at all. Okay? And it's very, very difficult to never, ever, ever have your ego show up at all, right? It might show up 0.01% of the time, but, sorry, 1 second. Spice, Sugar, can you not do that, please? I'm trying to deliver a training. It's quite annoying. Can you go downstairs, please? No, don't be fighting. Okay? I'm going to go here, I'm going to shut the door, and you're going to do your thing. Yeah? Oopsie-daisy. Sorry, my cat isn't normally like this, but she's having a funny she's having a funny few minutes. So you will get to a point where the ego comes up very rarely, and you may even be at that point already, and if you are, amazing. That doesn't mean that, sorry, one second. You may get to a point where the ego comes up very rarely, yeah? That doesn't mean that it's your job to be like, oh my gosh, my ego came up in that conversation, my ego was really crushed that this person didn't say yes, or my ego was really crushed that this person said actually they don't see why my services are important, or my ego is really crushed that this person said, oh, that's really expensive. Yeah? But what we want to do is we want to achieve a point where, first and foremost, if your ego comes up, it comes up in a way where you notice it, but the other person doesn't. And with practice, the more sales conversations you have, that the ego comes up less and less and less, be it for the other person, where the other person can see it, or be it just where you can see it. Because the ego, when the ego comes up, the ego is actually even more distracting for you than it is for the other person. Yeah? Let me know if that makes sense. I'm going to get you a definition of ego as well. Yeah, ego, a person's noun, a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. The part of the mind that mediates between the conscious and the unconscious and is responsible for reality testing a sense of personal identity. So yeah, it's the first one. It's like when we are attaching or relating the outcome to our own self-esteem, or when we are deciding or thinking, if this person says yes, I am more worthy. If this person says no, I am less worthy. If this person says yes, I am more important and more valuable. If this person says no, I am less important or less valuable. Can you see how that would cause you to be very distracted from the essence of the relationship, from the essence of the person who's in front of you, from the essence of the value of your services, from your own true essence? Can you see that? So we just want to catch anywhere that we are noticing being really attached to the outcome, or deciding that the outcome of yes or no means something about us. Okay, because you can see how if our self-esteem is dependent on that person saying yes, how then if they say, if it's not a fit, if they're not a fit for our offerings, if they're not a fit for our services, that's then going to create massive internal conflict, because we've got this one part of us that's like, yeah, but them saying yes is dependent on your, it's going to dictate your self-esteem, and it's going to dictate your worthiness, and it's going to dictate your validity. And then you've got this other part of you, your higher self, your true self, that's like, this isn't the right fit. And then you've got conflict there, and then before you know it, you'll be saying, sorry, what did you say? And asking them to repeat themselves, or getting lost in the conversation, yeah? Losing your trail of thought in a conversation is not the worst thing in the world. It happens to everyone now and then, especially when you're engaging in complex and deep and nuanced conversations. But there's a difference between that happening naturally, just because it does, and you energetically exiting the conversation because you've gone into ego. Okay, so that's as much as I want to share about ego for today. Let me know if you have any questions or you had any ahas as I was sharing there. And now I want to talk about codependence. So codependence is when you are basically, let me just find the official definition. I'll give you my definition too, but it's always helpful to have a dictionary definition. I guess this is quite superior to my definition. So codependency is an excessive emotional or psychological reliance on a partner, typically one who requires support on account of an illness or addiction. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be anything to do with an illness or addiction. It can just be that it can just be that, you know, there's a dependence from one person to the other, or there's a dependence, there's a two-way dependency, right? Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with choosing to be supported by someone or choosing to support someone. Where codependency comes in is where we feel a compulsive urge to like rescue someone, or we feel a compulsive urge to be rescued, or we feel like I can't do this without this person, or I couldn't do this without this person, or when we feel this person couldn't do this without me, this person would be lost without me, this person would be screwed without me. And some people who really have a lack of integrity in sales will say this in the sales conversation. They'll say something like, if you don't do this with me, you're going to be screwed. Or if you don't do this with me, you are not going to achieve X outcome, right? And X outcome, it will be like the outcomes that we talked about in day one yesterday. So can you see, let me know in the comments, hi Nzinga, can you see how if this is present, if we're feeling like somebody is screwed without us, or they're feeling like they're screwed without us, how that creates a toxicity from that very first conversation, that creates a toxicity in the relationship, and it creates a lie in the relationship that can very easily ripple outwards. Okay? So Beck says, I really dislike that approach. Yeah, me too. Bex knows how I feel about this. It can create this outward ripple. So if you're coming into any kind of coaching, any kind of consulting, any kind of service-based business as, if my client does not choose me and me alone, they are screwed. That is creating a neediness on your part where you're like, this person needs to say yes to me, this person needs me. And then what it also creates on the other side is you as the business owner, you as the seller are like, I need this person to sign up. I need this person to buy my services. Because if they don't, they're screwed. Yeah. Now, where this can get particularly, and I'm going to swear, I apologize, where this can get particularly effed up is when the very thing you're being hired for is to help someone become free, or to help someone become more confident, or to help someone become, step into a new level, like achieve more. If your very job is to help someone do that, and there's this like, well, yeah, they really need me, they won't be able to do this without me, then it creates a really unhealthy dynamic that then can leave a client feeling like, ew, like Bex has just said, I would run from codependency, it really repels me. If you have healed any codependency stuff of your own, even if you haven't healed it completely, even if you've healed it a little bit, or you've healed it partly, or you've healed it mostly, you will encounter a vendor engaging in that kind of dynamic, or embodying that kind of belief, and you will just go, ew, 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 because you might know full well that you choose to be supported. You might know full well that you choose to delegate certain things that you're not the best at, or to get expert coaching, or to get expert mentoring, or to get expert support. Yeah, you may know that, but you know that you're choosing that. You know that you're choosing that because you're choosing to get an outcome faster, or you're choosing to free up your time, or you're choosing to free up your energy. Maybe it's all three. You're choosing to free up your time, your energy, and to get an outcome faster. The difference between choosing that and being like, oh my God, I need this. If I don't have this, it's not going to work. Okay, that creates a desperation on your part as the client, or obviously if you're the coach, it creates a desperation in your clients. And then what happens, and this is really interesting, and I know this is quite nuanced and abstract and a bit complicated, but hopefully you're understanding what this means tangibly. It creates a situation where if you have any codependent patterns within you, and you're allowing them into the space of your business and the space of your sales process, then you're going to attract people who are very, very needy. So people who will reach out to you constantly, people who will always expect more, people who will come to you and say, oh my God, I don't know what to do, help. People who will look to you as the saviour and themselves as the victim, and people who will deposition themselves beneath you. Now, here's something that I want to share. The most beautiful business relationships and the most fruitful business relationships are actually when both people recognise we are equals. We are equals. This person has expertise or products that I would like. Therefore, I'm going to purchase that expertise, or I'm going to purchase those services, or I'm going to purchase those products from that person. Yeah? And then that person that's selling their expertise, their services, is saying, do you know what? I would love to help you with this problem that you have. I would love to help you solve this problem by sharing my expertise with you. I would love to offer you these services. I know you're really going to enjoy them, so on and so forth, yeah? And these two people are engaging with each other, or two organisations it may even be, are engaging with each other on a very much even level. So there is parity, and there is completeness, and there are two complete humans coming together and saying, hey, shall we help each other out? Shall we create a win-win? Yeah, because that's what business is. when you as the business owner are selling something to your client and that thing is a fit for your client and your client's buying that from you, what you're creating is a win-win. A win for them, it's a win for you, it's a win for all the people that they then, the ripple effect that they have, it's a win for the ripple effect that you have, it's a win-win, okay? And so if you are noticing, and this may happen for, it will happen long term if you don't address it, but it may even happen on one particular day. Like you may be in a really low vibe state and you notice that in your sales conversations that day that you are speaking to all people who are in like victim mode and want you to jump in and rescue them and fix them. Yeah. And it's really interesting when you notice, it hasn't happened to me for a very long time, but it's really interesting when you notice like, oh, that's so interesting. I'm attracting like codependent people today, or I'm attracting codependent people this week, or I've attracted codependent people in the past. And it's a pattern that you can break at any point in time. And it is a pattern that is a win-win for everyone. Yeah, nobody benefits when you have a conversation with a codependent person and you buy into that, yep, I'm superior and you're inferior and you need me and you're going to die without me and all that kind of stuff, which might feel really tempting. Your ego may be like, oh yeah, oh, but your ego may be like trying to jerk itself off over potential codependency, but it is not kind for anyone, and it's a real distraction from a natural, whole, inflow, healthy, organic sales process and healthy client relationships. Beck said that was me at one point. I would attract people totally in a victim state and I would be left feeling drained. I was helping them as I myself wanted to be rescued. Thankfully, I rescued myself. I'm not like that anymore and I'm no longer attracting that type of person. Yeah! So huge, and so proud of you for ditching that. And look, you know, one of the reasons that I'm sharing this is I went through a period early on in my business where, like I said before, I had unhealed like not enoughness stuff and unhealed like it's my job to rescue others, which was partly coming from my relationship with my mother, and like my mother tried to commit suicide when I was 11 and I had to call the ambulance, and then like literally from that moment on I was like, it's my job to make other people happy, and I blamed myself for her trying to commit suicide because I was like, I'm clearly not making her happy enough, and like if I was enough she wouldn't have done that. And so until I healed that wound, and this is why working on ourselves as human beings and individuals is just as important as the business strategy stuff. This is why the energetic piece is just as important as the strategy stuff. Until I healed that, that was never going to go away. But then when I healed that, and I don't specialize in this stuff, by the way, so if you need someone who specializes in helping you heal this kind of stuff, let me know and I can make a recommendation. But until I healed that, that was there in the dynamic, and then I was attracting all these people who were like really needy, really draining, and I would literally, sometimes I'd have to have a lie down after a one-to-one client session, which, bear in mind, remember when I started this live stream today, I shared with you how I wasn't feeling super well this morning, and then within a couple of minutes of starting a one-to-one with Susie, I like felt amazing again. Yeah, that is now like every single client that I have, I come off the phone and I've been like, in most instances I've had loads of energy beforehand, I've been in a very expansive energetic state, and I come off the phone and I'm even more that way. And when you're experiencing that, that's how you know that there is not ego stuff, that there is not codependency stuff that's showing up in your business that is holding you back, because you won't experience that. It will just be super energizing, right? Does that mean that like there's never conflict, or there's never challenges, or there's never difficult conversations? No. But fundamentally, the dynamic between you and your clients is healthy. And what happens, and this is incredibly important to a scalable business, because if you've got any of that stuff going on in your client relationships, you're actually going to sabotage the growth of your business. Because if the people you're already working with are a pain in the ass to work with, in the back of your mind, you're going to be like, well, I don't want to work with any more people because this is already too much. And so then you're not going to do things like launch group programs. You're not going to launch a mastermind. You're not going to try and attract even more clients or work with even more clients, because you're already feeling like, this is too much, okay? Whereas when everyone that you're working with is, it's fun and it feels relatively easy because you're operating from your zone of genius, and there's also not those dynamics in the relationship, then when you think about scaling and you think about creating new programs, you think about creating group programs, you think about creating a mastermind, so on and so forth, that's going to feel really expansive, and you'll be like, yeah, of course, I'd love to help more people like this, right? Sophie says, Andrea says, thanks Vex for sharing. Yes, agree. I'm sure that created openings for a few people. And Sophie says, I think there's droplets of codependency that I'm working through. Thank you for sharing that, honestly. And sometimes what can happen is there's like droplets that you're still working through, or sometimes you think that there isn't any codependency, and then like something creeps in. And that's why with both ego and codependency, these are two incredibly important things to continually keep an eye on and to continually check in on. Like, is there anywhere that I'm bringing ego into my business? Is there anywhere that I'm bringing codependency into my business? Is there anywhere that I'm cultivating codependency, either consciously or unconsciously, to create some kind of like hero or savior payoff, or to expand my self-esteem? Yeah. That's it for today. I hope that you found this valuable. I know this was probably something that most of you haven't heard before. I mean, it's a bit like, wow, you like your whole perception of, business owner client dynamics may have just like totally blown up, and you're like, oh, it all makes so much sense. Either way, I'd love to know. Zoe says, okay, off to start my new course and school run. Yeah, no problem. Enjoy. Let me know in the comments what your takeaways are. Beck says, I've always loved to help people, but what I've realised is that there was part of me before that revelled in someone's problem, as it would make me feel better about the shit in my life. That makes me feel so icky now. No wonder people I helped at that time never seemed to be grateful. Yeah. Susie says, love that I can make peace with a project like this last year. The impact is huge. Yeah. So probably in that specific project there was some codependency stuff going on, and it's like, yeah, cool, that was then, this is now. I get to not have that in my professional relationships anymore. I get to be aware of that and be wary of it, and be aware of like any urges to rescue, or any urges to save, or any urges to like, put the other person or the other company before me. And I get to not do that. And I get to create these just like the most healthy, expansive, organic relationships that I've ever created in my business. I really would love, if it resonates with you, for all of you to set that intention in your business, that you get to create healthier, more expansive relationships in your business, in whether it's with a vendor, whether it's with a client, whether it's with your coach, your mentor, that you get to create better relationships than you ever have as a function of being aware of these dynamics. I recently did a course that I really recommend. I had already done a lot of codependency healing, but I also really enjoyed this course to kind of continue the work. And it was with Terry Cole. Yeah. Sophie says, continue my healing on codependency and how I can form a healthy connection with others. Yes. And Susie says, I'm excited to create a solid intention around this. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to post the link in the comments. I am not an affiliate of Terry's. I just, she was one of the first coaches that I came into contact with in New York. She is very legit. I really like her, and her codependency stuff is really good. She's got a free training that she's running at the moment called Boundary Palooza, which is all about boundaries, which I think Bex is doing. And then she's got a longer codependency course that she ran with a guy called Mark. So if you go to terrycole.com, then you can see the details for that. And any questions, let me know. Any breakthroughs, let me know. It was a pleasure to do this with you again today. I know I'd originally said that the train, I think I said like allow like 15 to 30 minutes. But I think realistically, those of you that know me well will have known that they were probably going to go on a bit. Tomorrow's will probably be a little bit shorter. Thursdays and Fridays will be less than 30 minutes, but I will allow time for